Today on Windstream It, we're changing our focus a bit. This session goes beyond a single printer or product. It focuses on a strategic move that has caught the industry's attention.
A worldwide distribution
Mhm.
agreement between Roland DG and LSINC and what it signals about where digital printing may be headed next.
Why did Roland make this move?
And how do you add an entirely new product category to a global brand without missing a beat?
We go straight to the source.
Andrew Oransky, Chief Strategy Officer
Mhm.
and board member at Roland DG.
It starts right now on Windstream It. Good day. I'm Dan Barefoot from sunny Los Angeles, California, and this is Windstream It.
Broadcasting as always from Bogota, Colombia, where the coffee is really, really strong and
Very
digital
strong.
printing is making a major impact. I'm MJ.
Hey, MJ. This is a show where digital graphics meet strategy, scale, and what's coming next.
Today, we're talking about a move that has turned heads across the industry.
A worldwide distribution agreement between Roland and LSINC.
What happens when a global brand adds an entirely new production
Mhm.
platform to its portfolio?
How do you evaluate the opportunity? How do you make the deal and implement the strategy at scale?
We're joined by the executive who was responsible for that decision and is now leading the execution of the product rollout.
Andrew Oransky, Chief Strategy Officer and board member at Roland DG and CEO of Roland DGA for the Americas.
Let's get into it.
Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show. It's really great to have you with us.
Well, Dan and MJ, thank you for giving us the opportunity to have this conversation and talk a little bit about what we're doing. I appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Andrew. Welcome. Our first question for today is: how did you get your start in this industry and what path led you to where you are today?
Mhm.
I got a degree from RIT in imaging technology, and as part of that degree, I was required to have 6 months of co-op experience in industry. So I wound up going to work for in Rhode Island. I went to work for a media coder. At the time was Arkwright. It was an OSE subsidiary. It has subsequently it been sold to Sill. But they needed someone to help them do product development and evaluate image quality of their first generation of these products for this new technology called wide format inkjet. And I didn't know much about it, but I sort of had those knowledge and skills. And I mean, this was right. So this was early days. I'm probably older than I look, but um, but it was just this stuff was so cool, and it was such fun to work with. I got to operate printers and work on products. And so when I graduated, they gave me an opportunity to go back into a sales capacity, and I was there for a while. Moved on to NCAD, which again, a lot of your viewers and listeners probably don't even know that brand name, but early,
I don't.
yeah, so early days, and that got me a little more involved in the hardware side of the business. They were a hardware OEM manufacturer, and from there, spent a few years working for a large European paper company. So back into the supply side of things, and then finally wound up at Roland's. To my surprise, I checked this, Dan, when you and I were talking the other day,
Mhm.
and it turns out about a week from now, I'm going to hit 18 years here, which is,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And so I've had a variety of functions within the Roland Americas organization, as well as, of course, globally at this point. And it's just given me this phenomenal opportunity to touch almost every part of the business.
It is really a phenomenal industry if you think about it. And going back to, like you said, Arkwright, which was CAD initially,
Yeah.
and how much of that business has gone away. It's just a transition has been really amazing. You know, in fact, there's a lot of parts of your background that I can identify with. It's a great story.
Andrew, as a follow on to this, tell us a bit about your role as Chief Strategic Officer for Roland Worldwide.
Sure. This is a newly created position within the past 6-9 months or so. I've sat on the board for quite a while now, and we've had a lot of discussions about the need for, or our desire to grow, our desire to apply everything we've learned in a lot of the industries that we've been very successful in, and figure out how we can use those skills, use that infrastructure to cultivate new audiences, new customer types in new industries and new applications. And so I was asked by the CEO, myself and one other individual in Japan, were asked to take on the task and the projects of new market development, new business development solely, while restructuring the company to basically not separate, but create focus for both the, what I would characterize as the existing market teams,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the new business teams. And so this gave me an opportunity to look around the industry and figure out where some overlap and some value might be in terms of applying Roland's global skills and history and as I said, infrastructure to maybe some new industries where we could help introduce technology and make customers successful.
Amazing.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, let's dive into the topic for today. Roland's announcement of a worldwide distribution agreement with LSINC. Let's set the stage. LSINC builds highly industrialized, specialized UV printers designed for high volume printing directly onto finished objects like bottles, jars, cans, glassware. I think Andrew's going to show us some of these things. Used across beverages, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and promotional products.
Andrew, looking at the big picture, what led Roland to take on worldwide distribution of LSINC's product line? And why was this the right move at the right time?
Well, consistent with how I just described, that responsibility as chief strategy officer, what we were looking for was opportunities to potentially partner with, in long term, maybe a number of different companies, but LSINC emerged very quickly as a great partner, and it's a fantastic, well developed technology that really needed global distribution, not only distribution, but service, support, warehouses around the world, demo facilities. So these are all the things that Roland has built.
Okay.
We have within the organization a deep understanding of inkjet printing, UV printing in particular. So we have the knowledge to support these products and to showcase them all in the marketplace. They're obviously a little bit different from our typical applications and our typical customers, which was attractive to us, but at the same time allowed us to apply everything that we've built over the last 40 years of our history to bringing this new product into customers. And LSINC is just a phenomenal partner in terms of the way they've developed the technology, their availability to solve problems, their flexibility. And philosophically, what we found as we started to get to know their team really well was that they have the same kind of commitment to customer success that Roland DG has really been known for throughout its history. There's lots of people out there selling printers, and there's some very, very good technology out there. And I think what differentiates us and has differentiated us over the years is that commitment to, really making sure that our customers are not only purchasing hardware, but successful with that hardware and making money with it. And we found exactly the same thing with LSINC.
Amazing.
Great. For viewers who may be new to LSINC, from Roland's point of view, what problems does the technology solve?
Well, for years we have had attachments for some of our small to
Hmm.
mid-sized flatbeds that
Yes.
allow you to print cylindrical and tapered objects slowly. So
Very slowly.
yeah, very slowly. Yeah, it's not unusual. When you think about a pint glass or a water bottle, some
Hmm.
typically sized object, might be about that long. It's not unusual for that to be a 15, 20, 25-minute process, depending on the complexity of the graphic and the size of the object. And so we've had repeated requests for more productive machines among customers who are looking to decorate, personalize, customize large volumes of those kinds of objects.
Mhm.
And so it was very, very clear that there's an opportunity in the marketplace. If you walked around Printing United a couple of months ago, it's also pretty clear that every technology seems to have a moment where all of a sudden it goes from being really niche and really quirky, and there's one person doing it, to suddenly being all over the place. Right?
Yes.
We've seen this happen. We saw this happen most recently, probably with DTF, a little bit with UV
Mhm,
DTF,
mhm.
and if you walked around Printing United, all of a sudden their cylinder printers seem to be ubiquitous. I saw more of them at that show than I've seen in forever, and same with Vespa not that long ago as well. They seem to be popping up. So I think this is the industries that use that technology are starting to embrace digital prints. We're at that tipping point that everyone talks about in industries, and they're starting to embrace digital print and go looking for digital print and see the opportunities for it in a way that they haven't in the past. So the timing was really right for us to get involved with this kind of technology at a production level.
Yeah, I think strategically also being able to get to market as fast as you do with your distribution channel is absolutely key to this.
That's great. Now let's talk product. From a practical production level view, what is the core capabilities of LSINC's direct-to-object printers, and how does it complement Roland's existing portfolio? And as Dan likes to say, what is the secret sauce?
So at its core, these machines are designed for printing on cylinder and tapered objects. They've got some really special features that take them beyond a lot of what else is out there. Certainly the speed at the high ends. These machines are capable of processing, something in the range of, depending on image complexity and print mode and all that
Mhm.
stuff that we talk about in this world. But
Sure.
800 to 1,000 pieces an hour is not completely out
Wow,
of the realm of possibility for
Wow.
the
that's
highest
great.
the highest production of the machine. There's a version of the machine that is unique in that it can follow the contour of let's say a champagne bottle. So these machines, one version of this machine can actually print a champagne bottle from the base all the way up the neck, basically to
Wow.
where the cork is, by following the contour. They have technology that allows them to print on clear glass without the need to stuff it with an opaque piece of paper or beans or whatever sometimes people have to do because of the quirks of UV printing, let's say. So they've overcome some of those challenges. The ability to print fairly large objects, right? So this is a cookie jar. So
Amazing.
that's a 6-inch diameter cookie jar that was just fed through the machine as a holiday gift, and that's a really cool one.
Mhm.
They've developed LSINC has developed some really interesting software features as well that allow you. You'll notice this is the same image I just showed you on that cookie jar,
Yeah.
and one of the really cool things you would expect to have to go back into Illustrator with that file if you wanted to print it on the
Mhm.
cookie jar or the pint glass and resize it and scale it and then play around with your resolutions and make sure that it looks the same. But if you wanted to do a set of glassware and a cookie jar or a maybe a decanter or something where it all goes together and you want to put the same image on it or the same logo, they've actually got to develop a software feature which is, as far as I know, unique, that will automatically scale the image, compensate for the taper, compensate for the change in shape and diameter, and deliver an image which will, without having to go back in and edit the image, give you the same image quality, color, and resolution, regardless of object size. And then finally, and this is cool, the feed systems are strong enough, robust enough to actually be able to, and this is, I don't usually, this is an actual bottle of bourbon, and I really have not spent my career sitting around with a bottle of bourbon in my office, but that's not my normal, but this was filled, this was actually printed while filled.
Wow.
And so from a workflow and production standpoint for a beverage manufacturer or distributor who wants to be able to do, in this case, a seasonal edition, a personalized edition, even different potentially regulatory environments or distribution channels where you need a different image or text, you can actually inventory full bottles and then feed them through the machine on the way out to distribution at the last minute, creating tremendous inventory flexibility. And that's an unusual feature in this world. Most of what's out there relies on printing an empty object at fairly lightweight.
That's pretty amazing. The statistic that you just cited, being able to print 800 to 1,000, and previous to this, we have a printer that's printing every 25 minutes, possibly the same thing. So it's really interesting. Hey, who is the ideal customer for the solution, and what type of production environments get the most valuable for this type of direct-to-object printing?
Yeah. Well, certainly a few of the samples, that I've shown have pointed in those directions, right? We think the beverage industry is, and we've seen interest from the beverage industry, but we're really trying to cultivate an audience there in terms of the kinds of customization and personalization that I just talked about, and the ability to basically create customized offerings for regions, for customers. A mid-sized winery, we're finding more and more that the wine industry, for instance, is under a bit of pressure right now if you spend any time reading, as is the spirits industry. We just read that Jim Beam closed down one of their largest, they mothballed the distillery for a year, which is an incredible thing.
It's a really big thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it shows a market trend. And so how do you create value for those brands? How do you make them attractive? Well, a couple of things can happen, right? You can start to do personalization, customization. We know a lot of, out here in California, Dan, I'm about an hour down the freeway from you, and we know up and down the coast of California, there's a lot of wineries that are also running event spaces and they're holding weddings. And so the ability to be able to tie in some customized wine with some of those events and be able to offer that to your customers could really add a lot of profit to those businesses. We're also seeing interest from cosmetics, nutraceuticals, perfume, the home goods industry. There's a lot that can be done. A lot of the candles, customized candles, both the packaging for the candles and the glass itself has been a market that has been interesting and interested. And of course, glassware in general. So the pint glasses I showed, if you look at, local establishments, bars' ability to put their brand, beer companies are constantly, they want their beer served in their branded glass.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is something we see in Europe all the time, particularly maybe more than the U.S. In Europe, I find anytime I order a beer, it seems to come in a glass with that company's logo on it.
Yes. And
so the ability to maybe even co-brand those with the bar and offer that as an incentive to the restaurant or bar establishment, very, very attractive. And then finally, of course, promoware. There are promo goods, whether it's everything from glasses and cups to water bottles and a variety of objects that can be fed through the machine and processed. Are all potentially attractive markets for us.
Amazing.
Very interesting.
That's great. When should the market expect the official launch, and what does the distribution model look like? Will this go through Roland's existing channel partners?
Well, look, I guess I need to talk to my marketing department because the launch has happened. The press release is out and the information is on the website. So. it is out there. We're waiting for inventory to hit the warehouses around the world, but the demo site in California is set up, and Japan and Barcelona, Spain will be shortly behind those. Inventory should be in the warehouse in a matter of time. It's just build times and lead times being what they are. The product is going to be sold and distributed a little bit differently than most of our product line because these are high-priced, complex machines, and there's a lot of particular knowledge by industry and workflow development, process development that needs to be done. I would say that what I've learned from LSINC is that it's probably accurate to state that no two installations are exactly the same. The machines are very configurable, and so as a result of that, we'd like to have direct contact with the customers and be able to build out the solution that they're looking for. And so we are building a direct sales force in order to sell these to large industrial customers. But we are also recognizing that because of our history in smaller volume of some of the same applications, we do have a lot of dealers around the world who have contacts and have customers who are looking for technology like this, and we want to make sure that they do get an opportunity to participate. And so we do have a dealer program where they can participate and share business with us, but it is primarily a direct sale.
Okay. Very interesting. I would expect, especially because of the customization, that makes it a much more in-depth sale than a normal traditional sale that you would handle.
Yeah, I think Roland DG is very, very good at designing and building highly flexible machines that address a wide range of customers and applications right out of the box. And this is a little bit different. And for instance, some of the things that we've learned in the short time we've been involved is, we talk about printing on glass. And for those of us in the graphics market, and look, we love the graphics market.
Absolutely,
it's been good. It's been good to us, and we want to continue to support those customers and build our reputation there. But when we think about printing on glass for graphics, the primary consideration is, does the ink stick? And so once you can get the ink to stick, you've pretty much solved like 80-90% of your potential problems with that application. If you're printing a glass display. In these industrial markets, the requirements for printing on a wine bottle or a beer bottle versus printing on a pint glass are really, really different. You can get the ink to stick to all of them because they're all glass. But a pint glass that you're putting into a bar with that beer company logo on it might need to be washed in a commercial dishwasher 200-300 times before it breaks, and that's a really, really specific durability requirement. The beer bottle has to survive all of the jostling and the vibration and the abrasion of running down a bottling line, being put in a case pack, being driven across the country in a truck. It's never going to get washed. So you still have a very specific durability requirement, but it's a really different one from the glass, right? And so on and so on. And so as you start to think about these use cases, and you start to think about the very specific requirements of different applications in different industries, it requires delivering exactly the configuration that is going to give the customer the results that they're looking for. And it also comes down to workflow, right? In many cases, these machines are likely to go into production environments. They're going to go into the winery near the bottling line. They're going to go into the glass plant. And so some of the configuration options are around loading and unloading and feed systems, and whether everything is happening at one end of the machine or whether it's happening straight through to the back of the machine. And there's lots of different ways you can set that up. But that requires a series of conversations with the potential user about exactly not only what they're going to do with it, but how it fits into all of the other things that they're doing in manufacturing the product that they make.
Just out of curiosity, how long is a normal sales cycle?
It's hard. It's early days for us, but I would say, what we're learning from LSINC in the run up to this is 3 to 6 months is pretty typical.
Okay.
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 Which again is much longer than we experienced with the TrueViz product and a sign shop that's on like their
Sure.
fifth Roland and just says, I need a
Yeah.
new printer. Yeah.
How soon can I deliver it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, from a practical standpoint, where does this product line fit in terms of pricing, and how will training, service, and technical support be handled? Will that be with you primarily, or with LSINC as well?
No, it's absolutely with us. The printers range in price. Again, lots of options, lots of configurations, and a few
Sure.
different models of printer with different capabilities. But broadly speaking, they start in sort of the low 200,000s and top out somewhere around 700,000, depending, again, configurations, options, and what the package is. But that is the range.
Okay.
We're building out dedicated support and application teams around the world. So there's going to be teams in every region that are here to cultivate and disseminate all of the knowledge that I just described to you about how to work the requirements of specific industries and how we deal with primers and pre-treats and workflow and software and what do you do if you're in a dusty, dry environment versus what do you do if you're in a humid environment and how do you set these things up? I just this morning had a more in-depth conversation than I've ever had about ionizer bars and how to reduce static on plastic objects running at high speed. My application specialist was in my office this morning saying, hey, this is a problem we're going to have to solve for some customers. Let's go do it. So we want to keep that knowledge focused within the team and share it. At the same time, right, the beauty of Roland is we've got demo rooms around the world that we can put these machines in. We have service infrastructure around the world. We have marketing. We have websites. And so we get to make great use of everything that's been built, but at the same time, within that broader organization, have a lot of really concentrated knowledge and skill around this one thing.
It's very interesting.
Very interesting. Is this a global agreement and is it exclusive?
It is global. It is not 100%. It is not exclusive. There are, as a practical matter, there are a lot of places in the world where we are the only people representing this product. But there were also some existing distribution relationships. LSINC's been in business a long time, and they've been building these kinds of printers for a number of years now. And they had some existing distribution relationships around the world that we and they agreed were important to respect. These are businesses that have made an investment, that have tried to cultivate or been successful in some cases cultivating their local market. And so we're going to evolve together. My view on that is that, look, this is, for every reason that we've talked about through this conversation, this is a huge opportunity. There is absolutely enough business for more than one person out there. And I think we can all be successful. The growth, I think the growth will come one way or the other, and we can all coexist.
It's interesting. As you're scaling worldwide, where have the LSINC been selling this product? Just mainly in the U.S., Europe, or?
Yeah, I'd say the bulk of their sales have been in the U.S. I mean, they're in. We didn't talk about this. They're in Huntsville, Alabama. So this is a U.S. produced product, by the way, U.S. engineering and 100% U.S. manufacturing. They've largely sold within the U.S., a little bit Canada, Mexico. They've got some representation in the Middle East. They've got some representation in Europe. Those are some of the relationships that I talked about. But we're taking them into Asia where they've really never been. We're taking them across probably a broader part of Europe than they've been able to reach. South America is completely greenfield. So there's a huge number of opportunities out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Looking a bit ahead, where do you see customers getting the fastest return, and does this partnership opens the door to follow-on products?
As far as the first question goes, it's the same story we've seen with digital print over and over and over again, right? Well, as evidenced by the beginning part of this conversation, I've been doing this a long time, as Dan. And so what you see in any industry, any part of the print industry that transitions from analog to digital, is that the early adopters can see a very, very quick return. And so, what are the scenarios that are going to allow that in these industries? If you pick any of the industries that I talked about, largely speaking, you're still dealing with analog print processes that require very long setup times, a lot of make ready. You can print bottles directly using very expensive specialized screen presses, but the make ready is very difficult. You can imagine what screen printing on
I can imagine.
The mechanics of screen printing on a cylindrical object in multiple colors is really difficult. It's a highly specialized skill. So it's fairly there's a limited number of providers, and it's fairly expensive. The minimums are large, and so you start thinking about digital print and what it's done in other parts of the print industry, other applications. And so for brand owners that want to be able to do shorter runs, more customization, possibly bring some decoration in-house that they may be paying an outside provider for right now, I think there's a very, very quick ROI on that. And for those providers, look, I would love to see one of these machines in all of those screen print shops that are specialized in printing these kinds of objects, because this gives them options, right? We know a million print shops across the world that have, that are still running an 8-color Heidelberg press all day, 3 shifts a day, and they have 2 or 3 production digital devices sitting next to it for different kinds of jobs, different kinds of minimums, different value. And I see the same model evolving for service providers in these industries. And then finally, you have a lot of the promo industry, particularly, is still running on pad printing. And pad printing is interesting because it actually, the setup is pretty easy. The make ready is minimal. And you can swap out images and objects pretty quickly on a low to medium volume pad printing setup. However, it's limited technology. You're not doing photorealistic, high resolution images with lots of color. You're tending to do corporate logos and block print and blocks of large color fills. So for people doing pad printing, I think if they embrace the idea of offering their customers different kinds of maybe more complex images, higher resolution, the ability to do very, very short runs, custom runs, I think there's a real case to be made for a pretty quick ROI in that industry as well.
Just out of interest, on the custom runs, how many would you normally recommend being done? Would it be, can you do one-offs, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, you can do one. Okay. You've got to have a business model that makes that cost effective.
Sure. I mean, that's going to be very expensive, but you can do a one-off. Can you do variable data?
Yes. Yeah. So if you want to do right, I mean, the big thing in the bourbon world right now is limited editions of numbered bottles. Yeah. Right? So the ability to feed through bottles and have them sequentially numbered automatically is in the software. There are also LSINC has done some web to print integrations where people are ordering custom printed objects with either their images that they've uploaded or images that have been chosen out of the provider's library, and it flows straight through into the RIP with minimal intervention. Obviously, there's some right. I mean, you've got to have some workflow expertise in order to do that. But at that point, you might be doing 1,000 of the same object, right? You want to set up your tooling and your workflow and your loading for that one thing, but you may be printing a different image on every single one of those 1,000 examples of the glass or the bottle that you're doing, and those users do exist in the world, and they're implementing the technology successfully.
Amazing.
Very, very interesting. Finally, especially in your role, Andrew, strategically, does this type of business model signal a broader shift in Roland's, how they may approach other manufacturers, or potentially taking on distribution rather than manufacturing?
I wouldn't say so. Roland is a fantastic manufacturing and engineering organization, and we are very committed to continuing to develop our own products. when we see opportunities, but it also may not be a one-off, right? So when we
Mhm.
see opportunities that fit our business and our goals as well as this one does in the future, it's always going to be an option. But I don't want anybody in the world who may be watching this or thinking about Roland's future to think, oh, Roland, 5 years from now, Roland DG is going to be a distributor. That's absolutely not the case. This is
Sure.
a specific opportunity, and there may be others, but it doesn't signal any broad change in direction.
Well, I think speed to market also gives you such a great opportunity. And like you said, I agree with you. Walking around Printing United, there were so many of these types of printers, and allowing you to get into the market with something this advanced, I thought was a brilliant move on your part.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much, Andrew. That wraps up another great Winstrument session. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate the insights, and we really hope you'll be back soon to talk more about the strategic initiatives you're leading.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank,
Dan.
thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you. And for our audience, Win will be releasing several LSINC demo videos and application samples next week that were captured at Roland DGA's headquarters.
Absolutely, MJ. Andrew always brings a different perspective. In fact, I've told you some of my favorite conversations at trade shows are with Andrew. Hey, before we wrap up, don't forget to subscribe to Win Quick News, our weekly newsletter delivered straight to your inbox.
And now for some big news, we're launching a brand new program called Win PrintSpot. Then give us the quick hit.
I sure will. Win Print Spot is a Shark Tank style show for printing technology without the business investment. It's about the product investment. Launching in 2026, it's built to give print professionals the facts they need to make confident buying decisions. Each episode combines overall market information, a product overview, and a real world demo.
Every episode features the chief product expert, the manufacturer's authority who clearly
Mhm.
explains specifications, positioning, workflow fit, and return on investment. Viewers then see the product running live in a practical demo, and the show wraps with what we like to call the pitch, the top 5 reasons the solution should earn serious consideration. No pressure, no spin. All the information is on the table and the final decision is left to the viewer. As we say,
The facts, the demo, the decision. I'm looking forward to seeing Roland participate in upcoming Win Print Spot categories, wall decoration, UV printers, print and cut, and more. They've certainly got the products, and without a doubt, they've got experts like Andrew. Of course, Andrew's in a class of his own, but they'll make a strong showing.
no doubt about it then.
Hey, it's been a big day, big conversations, and even bigger things ahead. Stay connected with us at worldimagingnews.com.
And for our Spanish speaking audience, worldimagingnewslatino.com.
That's a wrap for this episode of Win Stream It. I'm Dan Barefoot.
And I'm MJ.
Until next time, stay healthy and keep smiling.
Manténganse saludables y sigan sonriendo.